Beth, you next.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. You talked there about a lot of soul searching. You were a Labour backer, then you were a Conservative MP, now you're defecting to Reform. What do you say to people that say the problem isn't all these parties, the problem is you, and this is all about attention seeking, and this has been very disloyal to Rishi Sunak, who made you Deputy Party Chair, and also to other colleagues that have backed you very verbally in recent weeks and are probably very upset and angry with you that you're going to only hurt their chances in a general election. What's your answer to them? Thank you.
Country, constituency, and then party. Next question, please, Richard.
Sorry.
Next question.
What do you say to your colleagues
I've given the answer, Beth.
who feel really let down this morning?
I've given my answer. Next question, please.
Millions of people who trusted the Tories to deliver Brexit, to reduce immigration, they're the people who count. The voters, not the representatives in Parliament. That is the difference. We focus on the concerns of the British people.
Okay, let me put. What's your message to Mr. Sunak?
We're going to move next. We're going down the
line. He hasn't answered my question.
Lee, we've spoken a lot here about protest, but what will your first domestic policy be for reform? And we've got teacher strike potentially in September. How will you handle that in Parliament?
Let me put that, because on our website you've got our contract with you, which is our equivalent of a manifesto, which sets out the whole. Yeah, but hang on, no. Lee is with us. And the key thing about that, we've touched on all the other things, the key thing is you've got to make work pay. And that's why the key economic policy of lifting the starting point to pay income tax to £20,000 from £12,500, that will make a massive difference to many, many people on modest incomes, on low pay. That will be the biggest single factor, and that's absolutely essential.
I've signed up to the key pledges of the Reform Party, so it's on the website, Ava. Feel free to go, we'll have a look and say, yeah, Lee Anderson agrees with all of that.
There have been plenty of reports that money was offered in previous attempts to get Lee over. Can you confirm that absolutely no cash has exchanged hands ahead of today? And Lee, do you have a message for any of your old Tory MP mates who might be wavering in two minds, thinking of defecting, upset with Mr Sunak? What's your pitch to get them to cross the floor with you?
So to be clear, no money has been offered at all, so we'll clear that one up straight away. And message to my colleagues is, look, it's a sad day that I'm leaving my colleagues, but if I'm honest, this time next year they'll be sat on the same benches as me.
Chris Mason, BBC.
Thank you, Chris Mason, BBC News. We've seen in the past, Mr Anderson, defectees from the Conservative Party trigger a by-election. We saw it with Douglas Carswell, we saw it with Mark Reckless joining the predecessor party of UKIP. Why not do the same right now?
Well, you're talking about Mark Reckless. It'd be pretty reckless of me to suggest a by-election when we could have a general election in May. There's your answer.
Why not go for it, though?
Because it costs a fortune.
I think actually millions of people are sick of parliamentarians wasting taxpayers' cash. We've got a general election within weeks or months. Actually, what we've got to focus is getting the message out to the British people about the choices and the option. And that's the joy of democracy. Different parties, different views. That's great.
Harry Cole.
Harry.
Thank you, Mr Anderson. Just a few weeks ago, you described Mr Tice as a pound-shop Nigel Farage, whose reforms answered Diane Abbott. What's made you change your mind? And question to Mr Tice, do you agree with what Mr Anderson said about the London Mayor, Sadiq Khan? Do you stand by those comments and you're happy to share a platform with him?
Look, absolutely, and I think millions of British people endorse the concerns and sentiments of what Lee was saying, which is that we are sick and tired of our streets being taken over by these pro-Hamas, extremist, anti-Semitic people and Islamist extremists. That's the concerns that people want to hear about. And in terms of pence, pounds, I tell you what, maybe if you look after the pence, the pounds look after themselves.
And also on that point, Harry, somebody described you as a pound shop Glen Owen. And I didn't argue with that.
Harry Horton, ITV News. Lee Anderson, you've had 3 political parties now in 6 years. How long are you planning to stick with Reform? And why should people trust you, given that clearly your own political beliefs seem to be changing? And Richard, for you, how many of the Tory MPs are you talking to? And realistically, do you think any more will switch to Reform before the general election?
Well, first of all, my political beliefs have never changed at all. I believe in I think politics is quite simple. You listen to what people have to say, then you go to that place and carry it out, and it's that simple. and we're not doing that. And I think this party will allow me to speak on behalf of not just my constituents who are furious with what's happening in that place, but millions of people up and down the country. And like I said before, my country has to come first, and I'm scared of what we're doing at the moment in this country. We are giving this country away, and it's got to stop.
And to answer your questions, I will be surprised if there are not more other MPs from other parties who don't join Reform before the general election. Could be wrong if it's called a week on Friday, but otherwise I'll be surprised.
Labour.
Harry Gibbon, Channel 4 News. Thank you. If I understood your new party leader when he was doing the introduction, he said Britain's broken and the Tories broke it. Do you agree?
I think every party's broke it. It's not just the Tory party, it's the Labour Party, it's Parliament, Gary. It's the whole of Parliament.
What he said, is it?
Oh, listen to what I have to say. It's the whole of Parliament, the whole system, the old democratic system in this country is rigged. It doesn't represent, really, what people are saying. I live in the real world. That's a place called Ashfield, Gary. It's a Junction 28, if you ever want to pop in. When I go into the pubs and shops and walk down the street at the weekend, people are talking like me. They're talking like Lee Anderson. They're not talking like you lot or the MPs in there. They live in the real world, and they've got real concerns about the cost of living, about migration, legal migration, illegal migration, stuff like that. They're talking about, the crime on the streets, the shoplifting, the fact that you can't get a police officer turn up to your house if it gets burgled, the fact that people are pulling their own teeth out, you can't get a GP appointment. So I'm here to speak up for them, not for you lot.
Andy Bell, 5 News.
Hi, Andy.
Lee Anderson, haven't you just made it much harder for your Conservative colleagues who are fighting to try and hang on to their seats? Haven't you just helped Keir Starmer win the next election? Do you feel comfortable with that?
Somebody, Andy, has to make a stand, and I said it last week, there's 650 MPs in that building over there, and if not one can speak out for the good of this country, then quite frankly, what's the point in being there? I have to live with my conscience. My conscience is clear. When I go and see my parents yesterday on Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day, Mother, and they say to me, Lee, you need to join Reform, but this country needs saving. We're absolutely fed up with what's happening on the streets of London. We're fed up with what's happening up and down the country. We're just fed up. We need change. If my parents are saying that, then I can sleep well at night.
I've got a very simple message. Vote Tory, get Starmer. Vote Reform, get Reform.
Adam Payne from Politics Home. A question for Lee Anderson. Lee, both Richard and Reform's Deputy Leader Ben Habib have talked about on several occasions how they want to obliterate the Conservatives at the next general election. Do you share that objective?
It's not an objective which is at the top of my agenda. My vision for this party is to win seats like Ashfield. My priority is winning Ashfield and places like Ashfield. Places that I think have been let down by my old party. Boris said in 2019 that the people in places like Ashfield had lent the vote, and they had people like my parents and my family and my friends voted Conservative for the very first time with high expectations. And the promises have not been delivered. And, I have to be with a party that puts this country first, rather than their mates at the tea parties and clinking their champagne glasses or wherever they go over the evening, scared to upset people. Well, I'm not scared to upset a few people, ruffle a few feathers, but you know what? I invite any of you, mind you, you're normally there up in Ashfield the weekend, a lot of you, especially at Guardian, knocking on 1,000 doors to try and get a bad comment out of me, and you're going to struggle with that one, by the way. Next question.